No Standing 8 Boxing Podcast. We discuss every organization and weight class with your host, Bronx Bomber, educated with the craft. Punch a topic hard like heavyweights, hitting the bag from the top rank to the upcoming. Washed up to the dark horse, champs, #1 contenders. Quick jab or sharp cross, we your source. Come get it. Tuning in, you can have it. Internationally known, our information is valid. See, we on a higher plane, no 2 episodes the same. We get better as we train, so on top we remain. Come join the conversation, it's insight you'll gain. And then outside of the rain, we do the damn thing.
All right, fight fans, welcome to another edition of No Standing 8 Boxing Talk. I am your host, the Bronx Bomber, as always, bringing the best in boxing contact and combat sports contact. And today is a first and a new for No Standing 8 Boxing Talk. I am interviewing Tom Shoaff along with his coach, Andy Pierce. Tom hails from Oklahoma, and he will be fighting this weekend for the BKFC Bare Knuckle Fight Championship lightweight world title of the world. He holds a record of 4-3 with 3 knockouts. And Tom, I will tell you, it is a distinct honor because you are my first bare knuckle fighter I'm interviewing. So welcome to the show, Tom. How are you doing?
Well, thank you very much. It's an honor to be here, and I'm doing well, man. Thank you for having me.
All right. So, Andy, you and I are strangers. We go way back some, and we bonded with this boxing thing, and now we have come full circle. And you are now coaching a bare knuckle fighter. So before we get into your role on this, I'm gonna talk to Tom for a little bit. I see that his shirt says War Shoaff. And Tom, introduce yourself to the people, to the listeners and the readers of New York Fights. Tell us a little bit something about yourself, your background, how you got started with combat sports, and eventually how you got to where you are now.
Beautiful. I can do that. So I have a pretty typical fighter story. I come from a broken home, single mother, lots of brothers. Most of them are older, so I got picked on and beat up a lot when I was young. I got bullied in middle school, bullied in high school, hit a growth spurt, got in a bunch of trouble, and then had to direct my anger and angst in the proper direction. So I found a gym and started training. My brother was stationed down in at Fort Sill many years ago when he was in the military, and I moved down here to be closer with him. That was when I met Coach P, and that was about 14 years ago. And it's been history ever since. I had some anger issues, and like I said, I had some angst growing up, and I directed it in the right place. And I found mixed martial arts. Had 22 amateur fights. I only lost 1. Decided to go professional, and as a professional in my total MMA career, I was 11-4. Bare knuckle, I'm 4-3. Kickboxing, I'm 1-0. And like I said, I've got the biggest fight of my life coming up on December 3rd, and gonna fight for the world championship.
All right, and so that is a very diverse pool of arts, for lack of a better term. Martial arts, kickboxing, obviously. Coach P is his forte is in boxing, and how ultimately, because what's unique about the bare knuckle fighting championship, and I tell folks all the time about these bare knuckle fights, this is actually paying an ode to the sport of boxing, because when boxing first started, way back in the 1800s. It was bare knuckle before formulation of the rules and putting the gloves on. This stuff was bare knuckle. So it seems like as bare knuckle fighting gets more and more popular, it's coming full circle. How did you find your way into that crazy world of bare knuckle?
So working with, as you stated, Coach P's specialty really is boxing, and I've been working with him since I started. So my bread and butter, so to speak, has always been striking. I only learned jiu-jitsu because I had to. I was fighting MMA, and that's part of the MMA game. So I learned jiu-jitsu. I got my black belt. I did all of that. But my bread and butter, my pride and joy is my striking, and that's what always carried me through my career. So for me to cross over into pure pugilism, which is, pure bare knuckle striking, I thought it fit perfect for me. And I got started in it because my buddy AJ Adams, he's the heavyweight champion of the world. He got in. He was on the tournament for the first bare knuckle show in 133 years. He won all 3 of his fights in that tournament. He won the heavyweight title, and he was the first bare knuckle heavyweight champion in 134 years. And I fell in love, and I wanted that for myself. Like I said, it fit right in with what I like to do. If you could go back and watch my MMA career, I had 15 MMA fights. I took 3 shots in that whole career. And it was only because I was hurt. It wasn't something that I wanted to do. It's something that I had to do. So for me, bare knuckle boxing just made sense, especially with my background, having kind of I wouldn't say I grew up in a rough area, but just having kind of a rough fighter's mentality and background. It's what made the most sense for me. And to take it one step further, I genuinely feel like, I know it's going to sound silly, outside of the scar tissue, it's safer. In gloves are there to protect your hands, not my face. And if you cut my face bad enough with 3 or 4 shots, they'll stop the fight. But if I get concussion after concussion after concussion, they'll let me continue to fight. I can stand up and make the 8 count and keep going, and stand up and make the 8 count and keep going, and your hands are fine, and they don't really have to worry about causing too much damage or gaining too much damage. So, bring this thing full circle. I fell into it because striking is what I love to do. I had an aggressive MMA background, and that's really it, man. That's really it. Striking's my bread and butter. Thanks to this man right here.
You bring up an interesting point about the gloves and the safety of fighters. We're going to revisit that point a little later.
Okay.
So, Bear, forgive my ignorance. My bread and butter is boxing, but how does their bare knuckle world work? Does it work like boxing? Are there promoters? Are there venues and sanctioning bodies and fight doctors? How does all this work?
Yes. Yeah. The shows are run just like any other boxing show or mixed martial arts show. That run through the same commission, the same commissioners, same licensing bodies. The only difference between bare knuckle and the other sports legally is we're not covered under the Ali Act. And with that, you do have some shenanigans that goes along in the background. Fortunately, I haven't been involved with any of that. Also, because it's so new, there are very few organizations. There's only 3 really big, prominent organizations in the world right now that are really putting on and performing bare knuckle boxing, and that's the BKFC, the BKB, and the BYB. So as far as companies and promotion companies that you can work with, that pool is kind of small. But regulation bodies and sanctioning bodies and everything else, it's all run just like any other show.
Andy, you are a boxing coach. I know we spent some time together in the gym a lot. And so I know how your mind works. You're big on focusing on the fundamentals, footwork, and you're a boxing purist. I don't think when you first started coaching Tom that this was the vision you had in your head.
No,
Not quite.
So how is this different? Because there's a difference from boxing and bare knuckle. I mean, is it just the difference is just no gloves, or is there a complete tactical change and an approach to bare knuckle fighting? Because you don't have, let's say, I guess the way I'm looking at it is your defense has to change some because you don't have the gloves to parry and protect.
right.
What challenges did it pose to you as a boxing coach to all of a sudden train a bare knuckle fighter?
Well, there did have to be some adjustments because the rules are a bit different. There's actual grabbing that's allowed in bare knuckle boxing, where you can grab the head, pull it to you, and you can hit from that aspect. The hands, I make sure that he has hands a little closer, a little tighter, grouped together, so the punches don't slip through as quick. You really don't have to worry about so much power or anything like that. So I have him punching a little bit lighter. We're focusing more on speed because, you touch that skin with bare knuckles, we're gonna cut, we're gonna bleed. So I had to make some adjustments. A guy that comes from boxing and he goes to bare knuckle, it's quite an adjustment because you really get used to the gloves. And then when your speed, if you're not careful how you punch, you can really mess your hands up because you got to really, really squeeze your hand really tight when you throw those blows because there's no padding. There's no padding. And if you're not aware of your power, you can really damage your hands. So there's some adjustments that needed to be made to work with him, to teach him on everything. But Tom, he really, in a lot of ways, taught me because he was the first one that involved in it. So when he explained it all to me, then I started doing my research and found ways to get things accomplished.
And you decided to take on this bare knuckle fighting endeavor. You reached back to Coach Pierce with your reputation, with all the coaches you were exposed to. Why did you reach back to Coach Pierce?
Because I knew what I had lost. I worked, like I said, I moved down here about 14, 15 years ago when I first met Coach P. And he was my first legitimate coach, like my first real coach. And when I left and went back up to Chicago and was in the Chicago and Indiana area, I had coaches, but nobody who really gave me the love and commitment that he gave me. He was at my house all the time, picking me up, taking me to the gym, making sure I had food, making sure my programs were good, making sure my training was good. He was just as much a father as a coach. On top of that, he knew what he was doing. He actually knew the sport and he knew the game. And when I wound up in the hospital and lost everything essentially. And I called Coach and I told him, hey, this is what's going on. He said, come down. I said, come on down, come back, come see me again. So I did, and that was 3 years ago, and it was the best thing that I ever could have done. It was the best move that I could have made, but I did it because one, I realized, what I was missing. I knew what I had lost and I needed that back. But I also knew that if I wanted to be great, if I wanted to be a champion, if I wanted to be, the best at what I'm doing, I had to work with somebody who could truly pull that out of me and see that in me. And that's Coach. That's Andy. So that's why I came back.
That's awesome, man. I know for the few short years that I spent with Andy, at Fort Sill training fighters, at Grady's training fighters, you pull a lot of yourself into these fighters, and it's genuine. I could tell that you do this with not just for a passion with boxing, but for a passion for humans and people. And man, you are one of the few people. I'm telling you, this list is short for me, Andy. You're one of the few people in this world that I know has a pure heart for people.
Bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I almost feel fault.
Yeah.
Okay, almost so fault. You're all right.
Yeah.
Tom, you said that the typical background story for a fighter is usually a hard, rough upbringing, and that's sort of how you made your way to the gym.
Yeah, sums that up.
Yeah. What has fighting done for you? What has fighting given you that perhaps maybe life hasn't given you?
I think fighting has given me the opportunity to live my life. I think when you grow up being scared and always looking over your shoulder and curious as to what's coming around the corner, whether it's, legal issues or financial issues or, family issues, whatever. When you grow up constantly in fear, and then you realize that you're not made of glass, and you won't break so easily, and that you're a heck of a lot stronger than you give yourself credit for. It really tears down the barriers in your life. And me recognizing the strengths that I have and the abilities gives me the confidence to go out and do what I feel is right in the world. and with, you know, good moral characters like coach and, you know, my mom and people like that guiding me along the way. You know, I know that it's giving me the opportunity to do the most good that I can in the world. I work with a lot of police officers and I help train them so that their confidence in their self-defense ability so that they don't want to pull their gun. I work with a lot of children in anti-bullying programs and things like that. I own a gym. I do a lot of coaching. So I give a lot of myself to the people around me and to my community, but I wouldn't be able to do that without the upbringing that I had and then the career that I've gone through. So to repeat my previous answer, I would say that fighting has given me the ability or the opportunity to live my life to my fullest confidence, you know?
So this upcoming fight was a world title. Is this a vacant title or you're the challenger?
No, I'm challenging for this title.
So you're challenging for this title. For the folks that will be seeing you fight for the first time, explain or describe your style. What do they expect to see? What can we expect to see? Because I'm going to tune in.
I am a forward pressure, high intensity, long range fighter who has zero issue fighting in the pocket as well.
Wait. Hold on. That, in my boxing brain, that didn't work. That didn't work in my boxing brain. In my boxing brain, you just told me you're a high intensity, forward pressure, long distance fighter. How the hell does that either your distance, either your pressure fighter, or you're a distance fighter? Coach, explain this madness. Explain this madness to me.
I'm telling you, my friend, go back and watch my fight with Joe Elmore. Watch my fight with Julian Lane. Watch my fight with Diego Garijo. Watch any of my fights. Even when I lose, my whole job is to move forward and hit you as many times as I can. And if we wind up clashing together, I have no issue fighting on the inside either. And that's what I mean by that. Like, I come from a background of fighting. I don't come from a background of sport. I don't come from a background of play or competition. I come from a background of fighting. So my job is to get in your face and fight you. And that's what I do. I fight, but I use technique to do it. Yeah.
Man,
the technique that we use, we work with a lot of angles. So once he gets inside, he starts angling a lot. Okay. And that gives him the ability to make adjustments or whatever and still be able to fight it on the inside, even if you have long arms, because angles give you that ability that you wouldn't have. Now, if you stand straight in front of them, but when you turn to the side, you have more space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's typical formula for Coach Pierce. You know, he's big on the footwork. I knew that was where you were going with it. I was just playing coy, but I never heard it quite put that way. so yeah. Andy, where do you find these guys, man? Or is that's something that you do? I think because when I was writing Elijah's story, I put that in there. I said not only was Elijah trained very, very well, but he likes to fight. There's people that step in the ring and don't like to get punched. So they fight and they go through and they train and they fight. But there's just some people that actually like to fight, and you strike me as one of those. And Elijah told me that too. Is that something you put in their brain, man?
I don't really think it is. It's just when you get to be good, if you find your niche in it, it's pleasurable because you're mostly on the dishing out end instead of the receiving end. So it tends to be a little more pleasurable.
That's right. All right, Tom, take me back, man, to that first bare knuckle fight. Well, before that, though, before we go there, how's the sparring work? Do you bare knuckle spar or do you gloves?
No. We so I typically what we'll do is regular sparring, 16-ounce gloves for probably like the first, depending on how long the training camp is, first couple of weeks of camp. And then as we get closer to the fight, we have what's called MMA sparring gloves, which are basically 8-ounce MMA gloves. They've got a nice thick pad on them, but you can still open and grip and grab things like that. And then we'll spar in those. It's just a more real feel. The punches slide in better. You don't have as much padding and protection. You're not as safe, things like that. It allows you to clinch and move and maneuver. But yeah, so that's really how sparring goes. It's pretty standard sparring, pretty typical, and pretty similar to the MMA sparring, regular boxing sparring.
All right. Well, take me back to that first fight, man. That first, you're looking at that guy across, he's looking at you, you're sizing each other up, and then you look at your hands, there are no gloves. And you say to yourself, oh, here we go.
Yeah.
What went through your mind when you got hit with a bare fist for the first time? I mean, in a competition, I'm sure you got hit with bare fists outside the ring.
Right. It was so I tell everybody who gets into the sport, because I've worked with a lot of high-level fighters who haven't fought bare knuckle before, who are coming into bare knuckle, and they want to train and they want to do their best to get used to it. And what I tell them is whatever expectation or whatever idea they have in their head, just delete it, because it's not that. We do what's called towing the line. So we don't start our fights like normal fights, like in an MMA fight or in a boxing match. You start on the other side of the ring. All right. In bare knuckle, you stand right in front of each other. You're about 24 inches away from each other, toe to toe. So they say toe the line. You put your toe on the line and then you pick your hands up. And when there's somebody this far away from you and their hands can almost touch yours, it is. I'm not even sure I have the words for it. It was the most surreal and strange feeling.
Different.
Yes, very different. I'm used to working my way in, finding my distance, figuring things out. Okay, all right, now we can move. Whereas with here, it's like, no, we're going to start here and you're going to go from here. So it forces pace and it forces intensity. And the first time I did it, it was shocking. And my first fight only lasted 90 seconds and it was wild. It was crazy. It was chaotic. I lost. I came back and I was able to beat the guy. I got a rematch right away and I came back and I was able to beat the guy. But yeah, it was that shock of not knowing what to expect, and instantly it just turned into a street fight. Now when I go out and fight, I'm a little more calculated. I'm a little more controlled, much more technical and precise in what it is that I'm doing. But early on, it was very chaotic just because it feels like a street fight. It feels like a fist fight. If you've never been in that situation or setting before where somebody's standing right in front of you, ready to hit you in the mouth, it can be shocking, especially in, when you're expecting a sport. Most people think it's a sport.
So interesting. Andy, how is it different being in the corner of a bare knuckle fighter and a boxer? What are you looking for in a bare knuckle fight that you're not necessarily looking for in a boxer?
Well, it's kind of similar. The ring is a little more rounder. It's not such square, so you don't really have to worry about a fighter getting as pent up as much. But it's basically pretty much the same. Like I said, most of it is just the striking aspect of it that I really focus on. Since Tom is such a forward mover, I really don't have to worry about his positioning and the real estate on the bare knuckle canvas. It's not a whole lot of different. Most of it's pretty much the same, except the grabbing and stuff. I can really just about do the same thing based on probably the way that I train him. I train him pretty much like a boxer. There's not enough difference as far as movement in the ring.
And no elbows or knees, right? There's just straight.
No, sir. No,
right.
sir. Fists only.
Fists only. And I think you alluded to it earlier, Andy, but I guess you had to learn how to take some of the sting off your punches so you don't injure your hand. Did I hear that correctly?
Yes. I told him, I said it's better for him to punch lighter. I'm not saying that he can't hit hard, but I need you to work on your speed instead of your power. Gotcha. The power, the damage that you give a fighter, even with this light punches, over time they'll whelp up really quick because it's bare. It's bare, so there's no padding. So anyway, with that being that way or whatever, you don't have to really try to force your punches, because I want him to be careful with his hands, because that's what he makes his money with, is his hands. So we don't want to damage those. So we got to be careful how we punch, how we move, how we do everything. It's all calculated.
And are there any restrictions on treating the hands in between rounds? Can you use like anti-swelling, like ice or anything on your hands?
No, you can't use any of that. Nope.
Okay.
You got to deal with the damage as it comes.
All right. Well, let's transition a little bit, Tom. Tell me a little something about your opponent, man. What's this guy like? What's going to be your game plan to victory?
So Luis Palomino is the 155-pound champion. He is also the 165-pound champion. He is pound for pound the #1 bare knuckle fighter in the world. He's 5'8". He has a 69-inch reach. He's 43 years old, and on December 3rd, he's going to take the worst ass whooping of his life. Because, like I said, that up.
You're praising
we're coming in prepared. We've been planning for this fight, this opponent, for almost 2 years. Yeah. We have been game planning and working towards this goal for a long time, and we got word, I would say, back in July, that it was coming to fruition. So we've been working on this for a long time, and kind of like what we talked about earlier, as far as the game plan goes, it's intensity, it's speed, it's forward pressure, and it's angles. He's a very athletic guy. He's a very tough guy. He's had 50 professional fights. He's been in there. He's seen it all. He's done it all. I don't want to take anything away from him besides his belt. He can keep all the rest. I want that title. And on December 3rd, we're going to get it. Like I said, we've been working for this for a long time. He's the best in the world for a reason, and we understand the hill that we have to climb, but we're prepared for it.
Nice. Any by any chance, does he have any relation to the great Carlos Palomino?
I wouldn't know. Is that guy from Peru?
No matter.
Peruvian?
He's going to get his ass whooped regardless, huh?
Yeah, either way, he's getting his ass whooped. Exactly.
All right. So what's next for you, Tom? What win or lose on Saturday? I know you're gonna win. You got a good coach, and you just seem, man, you got the look too, man. Man, I didn't know what to expect when you came on the screen. I said, I'm talking to a fighter. I'm definitely talking to a fighter.
Yeah, when people see the mustache, they assume.
Oh, the mustache, the swag, the hair, man. I tell you, man. I am talking to a fighter. What's next for you, man?
I appreciate that.
What's next for you after this fight?
Title defenses. That's really it. I set out with a goal to be champion, but we know that that's not the top of the hill. Once you get there, you got to stay there. So I want to say he's defended his title 4 or 5 times. So maybe stick around long enough to beat his record. One more jab at the end of the road, and kind of go from there. But that's really it. I'm 33 years old. I have my health. I have my family. I'm blessed right now in this period in my life, and I'm just looking forward to continuing the upward trajectory. I'm going to go out. I want to win that title. I want to defend that title. I want to continue to make money to support my family, and just do my best to be the best person that I can be. So that's what's up next for Tom, is just continuing to rise.
So when Tom's not fighting, what is Tom doing?
I'm a coach. I own a gym here in Lawton, and that's where I'm at 7 days a week. I spend the majority of my day coaching and getting athletes trained and ready for their own fights. I have a long story short, that was the whole reason why I became a fighter, was because I love coaching, and I loved coaching from a young age, but I knew that nobody would ever follow me if I didn't have the proper roadmap. So, I started doing the training and everything else, and building the career, so that when I did decide to retire and did decide to make coaching a full-time career, I can say, look, like, you want a black belt in jiu-jitsu? I got that. You want to go win gold medals in tournaments? I got that. You want to win wrestling state championships? I know people who can do that. You want to be a world champion boxer? I did that. You want to do MMA? I've done that. Anywhere in the combat sports community, I've competed, and that's, I feel, crucial when it comes to being able to be a good coach. So that's what I do when I'm not fighting. It's like coach, and they balance each other very well because you learn from both sides of it. So that's what I spend my time doing.
All right. Well, fight fans, there you have it. If you want to, I'm telling you, fans, I'm telling you, folks, this bare knuckle thing is getting bigger and bigger. Austin Trout just signed on.
Yes, he did.
Recently, former world boxing champ.
Come get it.
Yeah, Austin Trout signed on. Paulo Malignaggi has dipped his hands, former world champion. Paulo Malignaggi has dipped his hands in bare knuckle. This thing is getting more popular. And I'll tell you, if you haven't seen one of these bare knuckle fights, you got to. Most of the time, it's all action. Most of these fights don't go the distance. So check out Tom as he shoots for the BKFC lightweight title December 3rd. Tom, before we leave, go ahead and tell everybody where they could tune into this fight, where they could buy tickets, where they could pay for the stream. Give them your Instagram, your social media. Tell them where they can follow you. Tell them about your gym. Give them all the goods about where they could tune in to Tom Shoaff.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So you can watch the fight December 3rd. It's on the BKFC TV app. You can download that through your app store on Apple or Google. I think it's cost $5 a month, but you have archives to all of the fights, and you get every fight card that they'll have for $5 a month, so you can't beat it. As far as me, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram, just Tom Shoaff on Facebook, Tom.Shoaff on Instagram. And that's really it. I got a gym here in Lawton. It's called Alpha MMA. It's predominantly a jiu-jitsu gym, but we also run striking and mixed martial arts. Work with a lot of kids, a lot of families. That's really it. I don't want to toot my own horn too much, but anybody who's looking to get some good training in, they're around the Oakland
No Standing 8 Boxing Podcast. We discuss every organization and weight class with your host, Bronx Bomber, educated with the craft. Punch a topic hard like heavyweights, hitting the bag from the top rank to the upcoming. Washed up to the dark horse, champs, #1 contenders. Quick jab or sharp cross, we your source. Come get it. Tuning in, you can have it. Internationally known, our information is valid. See, we on a higher plane. No two episodes the same. We get better as we train. So on top we remain. Come join the conversation. It's insight you'll gain. In and outside of the rain, we do the damn thing.
Or your combat sports content. Tom, Andy, thank you for being on the show. Thank you for giving me the time, and it's a privilege to be able to talk to you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.